Twitch right now? You're invited to the Twitch partner program.
I just got partnered.
We got partner, boys.
Oh, Coke Gaming, what is this?
So busy chasing, we fall for a lie. Like youth is for life. If we could embrace it, that's how do we guide. This ain't a drill, no, like it or not. Why do we waste it? Can't rearrange it. Intoxicated by you. Intoxicated by you. Flipping lows for highs, so painless.
Like, all right. So this is the time that we fulfill the donation incentive that you've all been looking forward to all weekend. Lady Meta will be taking 3 shots of rum back to back to back. Part of that $100 donation incentive that got met. Why don't you step in front of the camera and take your shots? It's like, I gotta prepare for this. I'm not as big a degenerate as you guys.
Sorry, I don't do drunk percent.
Oh!
Anymore.
Yeah, we're done.
What the fuck is that? You couldn't even at least like fill it halfway.
No, you got 3 of these to do. Let's go.
Oh my god.
So here's one. You gotta step back.
Really?
You gotta step back. You gotta be in shot. Yeah. Look at the camera.
I'm not looking at the camera.
All right, that's one. You doing all right there?
Yeah, I'm fine. She's gonna die.
This is how you start drunk percent with 3 shots. You drunk percent Pokemon Ruby Nuzlocke
I
challenge.
don't think I like ate enough food for this, so
You definitely did not.
You got Sarah to take care of you. You can just
I'm
pass out on
sorry.
nap cam.
I got you.
You ready for one more? Final one. You can do it.
It's for charity.
It's for charity.
sure. It's the only reason why I'm doing this.
We didn't
Yeah.
think we were gonna
You're
get.
helping.
We didn't think we were gonna have anybody meet this donation incentive. but-
No, that's why I was like,
You're like, sure, that's
Sure.
fine.
yeah, that's fine.
It's fine.
It was Harvey.
Oh, 1, 2, 3. I hate you.
Well, it was also Harvey. He donated towards it.
I hate you.
Aren't you glad I beat him in Munchkin now?
The game sucks.
Thanks, Woody. That's what I'm gonna
It's
do.
always Napcam, Doc.
Oh, Doc's here? No way.
Doc's here, yeah, man, and Woody.
We've been talking about her poop sock all day.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
God damn it.
come on, you can do it. Let's give her a round of applause, guys.
Yay.
You okay there?
Oh, shit.
I think she got it.
Oh, shit. God damn it.
Do you hate rum? Doc says she takes 3 shots of rum every day for breakfast.
Oh, my God.
That's
Doc,
our,
I hate you.
that's our community right there.
Oh. Oh. God damn it.
Yay, charity!
Yay, charity.
Alright. So, let's go ahead and go get into things. We've got you here, Cold. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. How are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, good. We just finished that donation incentive off. I don't know if you were watching or not.
Well, I'm kind of watching, but it's like I don't want to turn the audio on just because
Yeah.
it's going to come through on my stream here, so it's kind of hard. But
Yeah.
thanks for having me, guys. So
You're welcome.
little of a preface, if I may, before we get started in this run, since I'm sure there's probably at least a few people in the chat or maybe who are just tuning in are like, what the heck is a randomizer? So, what a randomizer is, in a nutshell, is where the game has essentially been modified. So that way, all the items in the game have been randomly rearranged, so that way, you're going to get things out of order, essentially, and get things in a way that maybe doesn't make sense. So I could start off getting the Master Sword right away. Who knows? But bottom line, this is going to be open world, so it's going to start as if we finished, the initial dungeon escape, even though none of the chests are going to be opened. And we're going to be going through this game. I'm going to be having to route it on the fly, and this particular version of the game should not require any major glitches, but I'll be utilizing a few here and there that are just going to help me get through the game, make things go a little bit faster, and just overall we'll have some fun. So that said, we're going to start by naming the file, which I'll just do as DPX, because DPX hype.
What?
All right, and if you guys are ready, I'm pretty much ready on my side, so All right.
All right, count me down.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
And
So-
I'm going to start off real quick if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, because I wanted to make sure we mentioned the charity that we're raising money for, which is To Write Love on Her Arms. All money that we collect during DPX will be donated to them directly through the Tiltify integration, so it never touches our hands. To Write Love on Her Arms is a nonprofit movement dedicated to presenting hope and finding help for people struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. They exist to encourage, inform, inspire, and also to invest directly into treatment and recovery. To learn more about them, visit twloha.com and take it away, Colt.
All right, so right away, first in the game, we're going to start by going to Kakariko Village because there's a lot of easy-to-grab chests here, and this is going to kind of set the pace for the run, depending on which items we get first. And it's going to give us hints to which dungeons I'm going to be trying to tackle first. So we're going to start by going into Blind's house, and I'm just going to solve the puzzle real quick here. So we got 20 rupees, got some more arrows, more rupees, and more rupees. So kind of a disappointing start to things, I guess, first, but that's okay. There's still lots of chests to get here. And then we'll go back out, and then we'll jump into the well, and we'll see what's there. Normally coming into this, I like to find bombs right away because, as you notice, there was a bombable wall in Blind's house, and there's also going to be a bombable wall down here. And having bombs is one of the keys to just getting access to areas. That's a big find with the power gloves. So now we can lift stones. Another 20 bucks. We've got the cane of Burna and another 20 bucks. I won't be able to open that wall up, unfortunately, but at least now we've got the rupees to go do some stuff. And the first thing I'm going to do is go check the bottle vendor since we've got 100 rupees right away. And we get ripped off by getting back 20 rupees. So, and that's sometimes just how the logic works. So, but that said, I'm going to proceed north because I want to go check the Lost Woods. There should be some items here that we can get. And specifically, we're going to go to what's called Mushroom Spot, and then we're going to go to the Thieves' Hideout. And that's going to be up and over here. Yep, and, well, unfortunately, we're going to get hit by a thief on our way in. And right away, we're going to get the magic hammer. Now, this is an important find because this locks or allows us to knock down hammer pegs, which is a way of opening up things. So this is a key to getting us access into the Dark World, but we won't be going there yet until we find the Moon Pearl, because that's what lets us keep our shape. And there's 5 bucks in the Thieves' Hideout. Great. But at least now with the hammer, we have a way of defending ourselves, which is nice because the hammer, it's a little bit slower compared to the sword. And while it won't let us cut things, it does the equivalent damage of the tempered sword. So it does do quite a bit of damage. Now, normally what I do is I try and route this to where I normally check the forest first, but lately I've been finding that I've been having better luck just going straight to Kakariko, so that's kind of where we're starting here. And we're going to avoid talking to the women out in town here just because if they happen to spot us, then what'll happen is that they'll summon a guard and then we have to deal with fighting them off. There's our bombs. Alright, so now that we've got bombs, I can go back up into Blind's hideout as well as the well and go get the items there. But we're also going to go in here into the chicken house and I'm going to get what's in this side room. Hopefully something good here, because we don't have enough to really do much. That's interesting. We got the blue mail right away. All right. So the blue mail, to me, is a hint that we might be going to fight Blind right away once we get into the Dark World, because the game is giving us stuff to start, you know, thinking about taking damage. And I'm sorry, Meta, you were trying to say something?
No, sorry, I accidentally unmuted.
Oh, no worries. And then I'm going to light up my other items here that I've got. We'll get away. We'll let that open up. And then there's one chest here. And 20 bucks. I may go buy some bombs just so that way we have them. Especially so we can get one particular item that's South Kakariko Village, which you can get a refill of 10 bombs for 50 rupees. And we're going to spend our last bomb by going back into the well. that right there. Right. Okay, extra heart's nice. That's going to help us out. Now, according to the way the logic works, the game should not be expecting us to go and complete a dungeon until we have at least 6 hearts, and we also have the items necessary to complete a dungeon. And before we go any farther, I'm going to check, so that means that all 3 Light World dungeons are going to be required, which is a good thing. The Light World dungeons typically are shorter than their Dark World counterparts, and that means that 3 Dark World dungeons potentially are not going to be required to finish the game. So that's a very good thing. That's going to help us out. And from what I could see, all of them were going to be blue crystals. The other ones I'm going to be looking for once we get into the Dark World are going to be red crystals, because that's what opens up the Pyramid Fairy. And I'm going to make a note that we do want to come back to the library because the Ether Medallion is there. That may or may not come into play depending on if we happen to go do, what am I saying here? Either Misery Mire or Turtle Rock. And it's going to come down to what that each dungeon is locked by, because they're locked by one of the medallions in the game. And that also gets randomized in a randomizer. I realize as I am talking, I'm forgetting to get bombs. That's okay. We just go right in here. And they're on the right. This way we can keep bombing open things and continuing to get items. And we should see some pretty major drops as far as progression goes. Things that are going to allow us to unlock more things and hopefully gain access to a dungeon. But the big items we want to find right now at this point, I'd say, is the Moon Pearl first and foremost, because that's what lets us keep our form in the Dark World and will let us start, you know, doing things on that side of the game. Alright, then we go over here. Now we have a little mini speed run here. We're going to hope that something's good at the end of the race here. And speak of, there's the Moon Pearl. So now we have Dark World access. And what that means now is that we'll continue to get what chests we can here in the Light World, because we obviously want to get as many items as we can. But as soon as we hit a wall and there's nothing else we can do in the Light World, now we have to start thinking about, okay, where can I go to the Dark World? Where is it going to best suit me? But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my house right away. And we're also going to go to Uncle, because while the game is assuming at this point that we've finished the run into the castle and rescued Zelda, Uncle is still down there along with the other chest in that room, and he's going to give us something that invariably is going to help us. And of course, we've got the chest in Link's house to think about. There's a heart piece, which is nice. Not required, but it's definitely helpful to have more life at, you know, for later stages in the game, and it also just makes you harder to kill in general. I'm gonna switch to the hammer here. Can't use the cane yet because we have no magic. That's fine. Run past the guard. We get some bombs tossed at us. And we're gonna fall down the hole and go talk to our uncle. Let's see if he believes in us. Okay, he's got a little heart for us. Little love. And this is why I say the hammer's nice, because you can kill guards very quickly with it, especially green guards, because they typically require 2 hits with the fighter sword or 1 slash with the master sword. And what we got there was the Pegasus boots, which is an item that lets us go fast. And we can also bonk like that to knock things off the shelf. So that means that item we saw over in the library we can now get, because we'd have to have the Pegasus boots to knock it off the shelf. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to finish the lower part of Hyrule Castle first, just because this is a dungeon that, or I guess technically mini dungeon that the game expects us to do. And generally there could be an item or 2 down in this first part. Now the second part where you go behind the throne and you go through the sewers, we're not going to do because we don't have the lantern yet, and that is required to complete that dungeon because we have to be able to see in the dark. Thankfully though, having the boots should make this fairly quick. We can just run. And the boots are also going to come in handy later once we actually have either the hookshot or sword, because then, invariably, we can start really going fast. And I can start utilizing some of the glitches that exist in this game. Being a little more cautious because I'm down to 1 heart. I don't want to die, because that would be tragedy at this point. I think we'll be fine. Cool. Alright, so 50 rupees, it's nice. Again, not necessarily progression, but it's at least, you know, it's money, and that also, in turn, is opening up other things later for us in the game, like Zora's Fountain. The only time that a chest open doesn't help you if it's like a refill for an item that you already have. Ooh, hi. Now I'm going to use Bottle Strat with this guard, just because it's going to be faster than trying to kill him with a hammer, and easier, because then, you know, I don't have to worry about getting hit by the ball and chain. Drops the big key. Go in. Okay, so got another piece of heart. I'm going to save and quit just so we can get out of the castle quickly, and I'm going to go back to Link's house. And we're going to start from here, just so that way I can head south to the marshes, and we're going to check another few locations for items that we have access to right now. I'm going to equip the hammer again, just so I have a means of defending myself, and don't have to worry about wasting bombs, because consumables at this stage in the game are super important, especially bombs. Now, if we had the mirror, there was an exploit here I could utilize to make this a little faster, but because we don't, we're going to be going in twice. First, so I can get this chest, which, again, kind of worthless at this point, because it's just turning out to be arrows. And then we're going to go up to this room. I'm going to pull the right switch, and that is going to drain the swamp. And then we'll go outside and we'll see what was in the lake. And it's bombs. Speak of, I'm going to grab them just because they're there. And then we're going to head left first into the desert, just because there's some items. There's one item over here we can get. And again, I'm just being thorough right now because I don't want to, you know, not overlook things. Because if you overlook things, that could be overlooking a potentially a progression item. That could be what's stopping you from completing the scene. And then here's where we will need some bombs. Right there. Grab that. Got another heart container. I'm going to save and quit one more time just to zip us back so we don't have to run back. I'm going to be saving and quitting a lot here. That's kind of normal for a run like this. And this time, we just run straight down. We'll go like this a little bit. Now here I'm going to have to be a little careful. There's crabs in this area, and while crabs are easy to kill because they take one hit of anything and they're dead, they do 2 hearts worth of damage, which is going to be halved because I've got the blue armor at this point, but it's still, they're not fun to deal with. Just like trying to deal with mold worms with a hammer. I'm going to hope I don't die here. There we go. Gotta kill the mold worms to open up the door. Which is kind of hard with the hammer, because the hammer just swings slow. 100 rupees. Berry in a bottle, that's really nice. We can now go do Sick Kid. And more bombs. So there's one kid in Kakariko Village that you can only get an item from him once you actually have a bottle, because in the vanilla game, or I guess the original game, he's the one who gives you the... I'm trying to get past these enemies. I don't want to deal with fighting him. He's the one that normally gives you the bug catching net, but he also has an item that he can give you in randomizer as well. And he can give me something valuable, he can give me something that ain't worth anything. But before we head back in that direction, I'm going to finish Lake Hylia for now. And I'm also going to be utilizing the first of several, or I guess a couple of exploits that I use in my runs here and start breaking logic of the game. It's just so I can get access to a couple areas just to, again, completion's sake and just start getting those items. But we're going to check the Ice Rod Cave first, just to see what's in here. And then we're going to go back to the base of Lake Hylia, and we're going to utilize a glitch called Fake Flippers. Now, to explain what that is, normally in a Zelda game, you can't swim, typically like a 2D one without the flippers. But it was discovered that you can actually, in the Japanese version of Link to the Past, which is what Randomizer is based on, if you transition screens within 8 frames of getting into the water, you can actually skip the check that the game does in its code to see if Link has the flippers or not. So we'll do that right here. But there's an inherent danger to this, because if I get it and I start swimming, then if Link takes any hit of damage, then he's dead. It doesn't matter how many hearts he has. And I'm going to take this right over here. We're going to jump in here, because I want to check the waterfall here first and just see what's inside. And then we're also going to utilize a second glitch that goes hand in hand with this, which is water walking. So you're going to see I'm still in a swimming state right now. That's normal. But I'm going to pop back out. And all of a sudden, I'm walking. And now that we're walking, I can actually get these chests. Okay, cool. And then when I come out, I'm still going to be walking. And then we'll just take the portal back. And so long as I don't walk on an actual land section, I will continue to be water walking in this state. Or I choose to get out of the water for whatever reason. And this also allows us to utilize the boots so we can just move a little faster. And then here's where I will have to save and quit, because now I've essentially locked myself to this location for now. So Bridge Hobo doesn't have anything useful for us. We'll save and quit one more time. And this time I'm going to go to the Sanctuary. And I will run out. And we're going to check a couple other spots here before I start tapping into the Dark World. Specifically, we're going to check Bonk Rocks first. Why is it called Bonk Rocks? Very good question. Because we come up here, go to this ledge, see this nice pile of rocks, you bonk into it. That's Bonk Rocks. We'll get this chest. There's our sword. So first sword of the game. Now, the way Randomizer handles swords is that they're considered progressive, meaning that, you know, when you open a chest that has a sword for you, it's going to upgrade you to the next immediate sword. So, like right now, I've got the Fighter's Sword. The next sword I find is going to be the Master Sword. And then it goes up to Tempered Sword and then Gold Sword. So now that we've got this and we've got the boots, I'm going to go ahead and check out Sick Kid. And what has he got for us? He's got a buck. He's got a rupee. Alright, so at least it's done. We got that out of the way. And now we'll go to the real reason why we came back here, and that was to get the Ether Medallion. Ether I find particularly useful at the end of the game once we're in Ganon's Tower, because for clearing certain rooms, it's faster. And for the enemies I use to clear, it gets rid of them in one shot. So now we have Ether. And the other fun thing is that with medallions or spells, the game doesn't actually... You're supposed to, like, in the game's lore, I guess, have the Master Sword to use these, but if I wanted to use it right now, I absolutely could. It just checks to see if you have a sword. Alright, so now that we are good there, I'm going to go ahead and reset one more time. And that's just so we can go back to Link's house. And we're going to check one more spot before going into the Dark World. And that is going to be with Sahasrara the Elder, or however you pronounce his name. I've never really been sure on that. Maybe someone who's a bigger Zelda fan than I can correct me. But we go up here to where the Eastern Palace is. Now, we don't have the items to finish the Eastern Palace, so I'm not going to poke my head in there yet, because it's a required dungeon, and the game's not going to expect us to do that dungeon without at least the lantern and the bow, because those are the items you need to finish that dungeon. But we are going to go talk to Sahasrara. We're in the green pendant in Misery Mire. So that means that Misery Mire potentially required, but at this point it's not. So I will mark that as our green pendant. More arrows. Got the red cane, that's very good. And the red mail. So, okay, this is looking like it's pointing to Thieves Town as the direction we're potentially going to be heading in at this point. And then one more. Also got the red cane. So we have both magic canes. This is turning interesting. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the closest available option we have to get to the Dark World, which is down here in the swamp. We're going to go over here. I'm going to hammer this down. And then we're going to lift that stone, and under it is going to be a portal to the Dark World. And now we're in the Dark World. And the first thing we're going to check is what is called Hype Cave, although in my runs it's usually kind of more of a disappointment than anything. We usually don't get a whole lot of hype items here, but maybe this will be the run where I actually get it. Who knows? Got some bombs. Okay, that's nice. It's convenient. And then there's 4 chests behind this guy. 50 rupees. Okay, we got a progressive shield. And a heart. That was the Sanctuary heart because it refilled it, and we got 20 bucks. So, okay, I'd call it like 5 out of 10 Hype Cave. Excuse me. I also apologize. I'm still kind of fighting a cold right now, so as I said, I'm going to try not to cough too much, but if I get a stray cough in, I apologize, because my body kind of hates me right now. The other thing we're going to check, actually, is we're going to go in this direction, because I realize I want to check Pyramid first. And we also have the money to open Palace of Darkness, which might help us. And I'm going to use another kind of fun glitch. I'll explain that in a moment. Now, I'm going to be saving and quitting less when I'm in the Dark World, just because if I do save and quit, it's going to automatically pull me back to the Light World, and that's just, you know, helpful because it means I'm not locked in the Dark World, since I don't have the mirror yet. But it's also inconvenient because then it means I have to find a way back to the Dark World. But we're going to go up here. I'm going to go to this side of the pyramid, and I want to see what's on the side, because this might be something we need. That's 20 bucks. So that glitch right there, that's another glitch that's unique to the Japanese version of the game. How that glitch works is that if you run and press on the same frame that you hit your run button for the Pegasus shoes as your item button, Link will hold out an item and just essentially continue to use it. And with the hammer, this means that I can rapidly strike down pegs in a line, so that way it just makes going through those areas a little bit faster. And we'll go talk to Stumpy, see what he has. I keep getting all kinds of like stuff I can kind of use, but kind of can't. So where it looks like the seed is going to point me first is that we might have to save and quit out anyway. I'm just going to check one last spot in the southern Dark World here, just to be thorough. And we're going to go dig. This is completely random the number of times I have to dig. It's just going to be, you know, okay, how many digs is it going to take? Hopefully not a lot. There's been a couple times where I've gotten this first, dig I make, but we just want to dig as many spots as best we can. Hopefully before time runs out. There it is. So progressive shield, that's nice. So yeah, that's definitely a hint that the game is expecting us to do Thieves Town at this point, because we've got the red mail, we've got pretty much everything we need to do that dungeon. We've got the magic hammer, and we've got the red shield, which means that we can now block fireballs. We'll go ahead and we'll note that. Save and quit, and then we go over to the start of the Sanctuary this time, because there is a portal to the Dark World that is... Actually, before we go, we'll get some kisses for good luck. And then we're going to go ahead to Kakariko Village, and north of Kakariko, there is a portal to the Dark World that we can access with our current equipment. And we're going to go to Thieves' Town because it looks like that's going to be the first dungeon that the game expects us to do, which should be required. Let me go over here. And Thieves' Town is actually a pretty good choice for first dungeon, even if it's not required, because there will be 4 chests that we can get right away at the start that should help us. And there's also just a good number of unique items in each dungeon that we can, in this dungeon that we can pick up. So I will get the hammer out again. Alright, and we're now in the Dark World. Not worry about the fairy for now, even though it's cool to see that she popped up. And then we're going to get the items outside of Thieves' Town first, in the Village of Outcasts here, before we go in. So we'll go play the chess game first. This is pretty quick. And we got 20 bucks back, so we got ripped off. And then we will go over to the right. This house has a chest in it. More bombs. Alright. And we'll head south. And we're gonna bomb open that shack. And then we'll see what's in here. Book of Medora. Okay, so that means now that with the book, we now can access at least the Desert Palace, which is required, but we still don't have what we need to finish that dungeon. We need a fire source of some kind, so either the lantern or the fire rod. So I have a sneaking suspicion one of the two is going to be in the dungeon here. So we'll get to the first chest. Okay, we do need to get the big key, so that's one expected item here. Now, in each dungeon, there's a certain number of unique items that you can get in a randomizer. Those unique items are going to be essentially like stuff that leads to progression. Things like the map and the compass we don't care about just because, well, we've, you know, if you're doing a randomizer, odds are you've played Link to the Past, you kind of know the layout of the dungeon already, so you know what to expect. The one dungeon item, though, we do want, of course, is the big key because that's what lets us open up the big chest. And that also is what typically in most dungeons gives us access to the boss. Otherwise, it's just getting the other chests we need and then finding the unique items. So there's one unique item that gives us a refill, which comes in handy. And then this is the last one, so small key. Okay. So now that we've got those, we'll head up here, and we'll actually go into the dungeon proper. Now, Blind is unique as a boss because when it comes to fighting Blind, it doesn't matter what you hit him with, you just have to hit him a certain number of times. So it's perfectly okay that we're in here with the Wimp Sword, or I guess the Fighter's Sword as we call it. Because we can hit him with this, it's still going to do the same damage as the Gold Sword. And then we come across probably my least favorite area in this whole dungeon, which is the Hellway. And actually get through there unscathed, so nice. That key, we hit the switch. Open the door, we go up here. And then we don't want to pull the switch here, we want to step on the button. That's what opens this. But I'm going to be very careful with these little green lizards because not only do they hurt, they also are tough to kill, especially with just the Fighter's Sword. So I'm just going to ignore them as much as I can. A bottle with some magic medicine, that's nice. And then most important of all here, I'm going to take a bomb, toss it right on that crack, and open that up because that is what floods the boss's room with light, and that's what we need to actually start the fight with Blind. And we'll go over here. switch down. That leaves us over here. And you'll notice I'm trying to avoid fighting enemies where I can unless I absolutely have to. And that's just in the interest of saving time, as well as just hanging on to what hearts I have, because I'm going into this with only 7 hearts, and blind potentially could be a pretty tough boss with that few hearts. And there I might have benefited from just killing the red lizard guy. Alright. So why is there a maiden? Well, you're all going to discover a pretty ugly surprise once we get upstairs. But for now, we'll just take her with us. And then we'll go over here to the left. We're going to use our last small key. I'm going to switch over to the hammer because we're going to need that. And this is either going to be a dungeon item or it's going to be unique. Alright, so because it was a dungeon item, that means that Blind probably has something unique on him. The boss does. So we'll go back. And then we're going to grab the right skull here, because that's the escape switch. And then now we'll proceed to the boss room, which is right up here. And remember what I said about flooding the place with light? Guess what? She's our boss. Flint and Steel are a good match. Yes, they are. Thank you for the knowledge, Blind. Now, I'm going to be very careful in this fight, because as you can see, Blind fires a lot of fireballs. Then 3 hits, he drops his form here. And now I've got... This is slowly turning into like a big shoot-'em-up kind of fireball hack. And I'm just doing my best to avoid getting hit, because getting hit hurts. That's okay, we're fine. I didn't want to use the fairy here, but we're fine. I have an insurance policy. And now Blind's dead. And he's got 20 bucks for us. And there's our first crystal. Now would be a good time to read a donation incentive or two if you have one, but otherwise we'll keep moving. As you can see in the randomizer, it skips all the story stuff. We don't worry about that. We just kind of keep going. Alright, so now that we've got that out of the way, we need to keep hunting for some places to go. We don't quite have what we need over here yet. We might actually be able to go safely into the Desert Palace at this point. And there might be something required there, so because we have the Book of Mandora, I'm going to say let's go ahead and let's tackle the Desert Palace. So we'll save and quit to go back to the Light World. And we'll start from my house this time. Nope. No, that's alright. We're still heading in the right direction regardless. And this time we will head into the desert and we're going to go open up the Desert Palace. With what we have, I should be able to get everything in the lower part of the dungeon. And I have the feeling that there's probably going to be some progression items here, and we're going to find a fire source of some kind, because that's what we need right now in order to progress things. So either we're going to find a fire source, or we're going to find something else that allows us to progress, and we can keep moving that way. Skip the animation just to save some time. At least as much as we can. I have to wait till the heads stop moving before I can actually move. And we go into Desert Palace, which hopefully will be fairly quick. There we go. Get this chest first here, because this one's pretty easy. Okay, this dungeon trash. We don't need the map, we know how this dungeon's laid out. Oh, that's kind of nice. Since we got the big key there, I'm willing to bet that there's probably a small key in the big chest. Because that's the other item that's going to let us move in here and start doing things. So let's go grab that. And then we'll just use the boots to run all the way across. This should be either a unique item or it's going to be something else. Okay, it's random trash. Get the last of those things so we can open the door. Alright. Magic powder. Okay. It's something. And there's going to be one last item we can get here, which is going to be the desert ledge is what we call it. And then what I'm thinking might happen here is that this might turn into a double dip, which unfortunately can be expected in the logic, to where we have to double dip or go into a dungeon twice in order to finish things. But at the very least with the magic powder, that gives us the ability to go do the magic bat, because we have not only that, but we have the hammer, so we can actually get to magic bat. But let's check the ledge first. Okay, so it's vanilla. Alright. So, I'm not going to finish Desert Palace yet, because in order to actually open the boss up, we do need to have a fire source. So, with that, we're going to start from the Sanctuary. Excuse me. And we're going to run back to Kakariko, and then we're going to go to the blacksmith's house. And we're going to do Magic Bat. And we'll see what he's got. And what is Magic Bat? Well, he's this kind of guy that is holed up down here. Oop. There we go. We'll see what he's got for us. Hopefully something good. Hey, that's a good thing. So we've got the Titan's Mitt. And the Titan's Mitt allows us to lift really heavy stones. So that opens up more options for us as far as what we can do to get more items. So at this point, it looks like the seed is expecting us to continue item hunting. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and check one thing in the light world first. Just because now we've got the ability to properly check it. And then we will take a dip into the Dark World. But first, a couple other things we're going to do and check. First one is right here. Just sneak in. We'll go down here. And I'm going to see what's down in this grave. 300 bucks. Or 300 rupees, however you want to think about it. And the next place we're going to check is on the other side of the graveyard. We are going to go into one of the parts that we can access for the dungeon, for the castle escape, because this is where a lot of unique items typically are. Alright, so nothing too exciting there, but just, again, wanted to be thorough. And then we'll head back on up. Excuse me. And we'll come out. Alright, so we've got everything there. Now that we've got that out of the way, what we'll do is we're going to check a couple of places in the Dark World. I have the feeling that there might be something progression related with hammer pegs in particular, which is near the equivalent to where the blacksmith's house is in the Dark World. And thankfully, with the Titan's Mitt, getting to the Dark World now is a lot easier and a lot faster. So the first thing I'm going to check is going to be over here at Hammer Pegs before we start having something follow us.
Golix, let me know in the next couple of minutes if there's a good time to just go over some of the donation stuff.
Yep. So probably after I do Hammer Pegs here. So here's that glitch again I mentioned where I'm running and pressing my item button on the same frame so that way I can just quickly hammer these down rather than just go and hammer each one by one. And when you hammer them all down, that opens up this. And inside it we have the Bombos medallion, which is a big find. That's cool. And you can go ahead and read, like, say what you need to, Meta. Go for it.
All right, guys. So again, thank you so much for being here. So the charity, remember everything that you donate, you've seen the link in the chat there. Everything that we donate is going to write Love on Her Arms. It is a nonprofit movement dedicated to presenting hope and finding help for people struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. It exists to encourage, inform, inspire, and also to invest directly into treatment and recovery. So all of the donations that you guys do directly through that link go directly to that charity. We don't touch it or anything like that. There are also plenty of challenges and polls that are still up for some of the runs that are coming down tomorrow, so those donations can be set to whatever you'd like to do there. And as well, we'd like to give a big thanks to Lagger Gaming, who is our sponsor for this expo. They are a Nashville-based esports organization that currently competes in the FGC, ROE, and R6 scenes. They host LAN events in and around Nashville for titles that include Call of Duty, Fortnite, and fighting games. So again, all of those donations go directly to that charity, as well as the merch store, which is down in the lower panel there. Anything that is bought today or tomorrow, you can use the promo code, which is it should be DPX 2K19, I believe. You get some money off, and those proceeds go directly to the charity as well.
That's awesome. I was going to say, I know Lagger Gaming a bit from my ties to the FGC because actually one of the main things I do is fighting games. I'm an avid Tekken player, so their name is not unknown to me, and they're a really cool organization.
That's fantastic. We appreciate that, and we appreciate the run. This has been great, so continue.
Yep. All right, so we're in kind of a pickle right now because what we might have to do is double dip another dungeon, which I'm loath to do because, again, it means that, you know, it's inevitably going to be time, you know, that we have to spend partially clearing a dungeon, but at this point I'm going to go ahead and take that chance. Just because I don't want to go through and try and find individual chests. Usually a golden rule to follow when you're doing a randomizer is you want to gravitate towards areas where there's a lot of chests to grab. So where I'm going to try and go to next, because we have plenty of rupees to do so, I'm going to go ahead and open up Palace of Darkness in the Dark World. And we're going to see if there's anything in there that might be allowing us to progress. And I'm also going to check to see what other dungeons are going to be required in Dark World, since I realize I haven't done that check yet. So first things first, Palace of Darkness is required, so that's worth noting. Our not required dungeons are Misery Mire, which we knew about, and then Swamp Palace is also not required. And then it looks like Skull Woods is also not required as well. So I've got those marked on my tracker, so we don't have to worry about those. But even if a dungeon is not required, we may still need to take a dip into it anyway just to get an item or two. That is something that the Logic or the Seed can expect you to do. Handy little glitch right there just to get through things quick. And before we dip in there, I'm going to go check one last spot, even though it usually doesn't turn out being anything useful, but we're going to go wake up a grumpy catfish, and I'm going to see what he's got, because sometimes he has something useful, sometimes he doesn't. It, again, depends on the seed. But in the interest of being thorough, before I start poking my head into Palace of Darkness, I want to go see what's in here. Because at this point, what's holding us back from progressing the game is a fire source. So we want to get either the lantern, which in my opinion is the better of the two options in most circumstances, because it's a double header as far as giving you the ability to see in the dark, as well as giving you a fire source for lighting things up. Whereas we can use the fire rod as well, but you can't see in the dark with the fire rod, as cool as that would be. We'll toss a skull into that circle. There's our catfish. Yep. It's worthless. Okay. So now that we've got that out of our minds, what we'll do is we will go and we will clear as much of Palace of Darkness as we can. We'll get as many items as we can. Hopefully we get some unique items that will allow us to start progressing the game, because at this point that's about all we have access to. Is between that, Eastern Palace, and then also doing, like, you know, what we did of Desert Palace. Excuse me. So to get into Palace of Darkness, there's a convenient arrow right here that just points in the direction we need to go. And again. And we follow this. Squish a pineapple. We'll go through here, and we come out with a monkey. It promptly takes 10 rupees from us so he can follow us. And that's what we don't want to have happen, because anytime you get hit while the monkey's following you, or Kiki's his name, he runs away afraid. So, but we should have enough in our wallets at this point where if he runs away a couple times, that's okay. It's just, it's a time loss. And then once we get up here, we give him 100 rupees, and then he conveniently opens up Palace of Darkness for us. And then it's farewell Kiki. Now, I'm going to go left first when Palace of Darkness here, because one of the easiest rooms we can access for progression items is down here, and this is what's called the shooter room, because there's 4 points in this room where there's, or I should say there's 4 points, but the left one on the bottom here has the switch, which shows the chest, and our main danger is just avoiding, well, the shooter tiles right there. But since we have the red shield, that's not much of a concern for us. Actually, what I'm going to do, rather than go down, because without the bow, I won't be able to solve any mimic rooms at this point, we're going to instead go up. And we're going to take right. As I promptly get shot in the face. We'll open up this chest first. Okay, another small key, so that's kind of a good sign. It means that it's expecting us to go deeper. Bombs here. Blow up the floor so we can go lower. And that's unfortunate that I missed there. It's kind of a gamble. It's like I try and catch the very edge of that just so I can stand there and then fall down the moment that it opens up, but it's kind of hard to target it at times, because, you know, while Link does throw a certain distance, you can usually measure by that. It's hard when, you know, you're kind of having to visually guess it. Okay, so we got the ice rod. That's unique. That's a nice find. Not necessarily, well, it's a required item for our purposes, but it's not an item I necessarily want to see at this point, because it doesn't do much as far as progression goes for us yet. And at this point, we've taken all we can from this dungeon, so I'm going to go ahead and head out, because we can't go any further in the basement without the bow and arrow. So right now, it's a search to find something that's going to allow us to progress. And there's a few last spots we can try going into. I'm going to just check, even though it's a required dungeon, I'm going to check Eastern Palace anyway, just to see if maybe there is something in there that we can use, like a fire source. Because if we can get the lantern there and the bow, it might be useful. And there's 3 unique items we can get in Eastern Palace. The other option we have is that I can, even though it's not required, take a look into Skull Woods right now, and we can see what is required over there. Going this way just a little faster to get into Eastern Palace. But we can take a look into Skull Woods and see if something is in there, which is another option to us. Alright. But at this point, we need to get something that's going to allow us progression, bottom line. So I'm going to take a dip through Eastern Palace here just to see what we get. And there's 3 unique items in this dungeon that we can obtain. So there's one of them. And we'll leave either when I count 3 of them off, or we get to the point where we start needing the lantern. Because at that point, we will not be able to progress any further, and the siege should not expect us to progress any further. Now, if we had the hook shot, I could just take a shortcut here and go down, but because I don't, we're going to instead go the way the game intends us to, by hitting that switch, going down, and then we grab this chest. Okay. Another hard piece, which helpful. That's 2 unique items. I'm not wasting too much time with skeletons right now, just because they irritate me, and I only kill them when I have to. Plus, they jump away and you try and slash them. In that room, there's a U-shaped, I guess, trigger on the floor, and there's our 3rd unique item, so there's no progression items in Eastern Palace. So, but in that particular room with the skeletons on the floor, there's a U-shaped kind of trigger around that room that triggers the full amounts of skeletons to spawn, but if you don't touch any skeletons and you go around that U, then you only spawn 2 skeletons, which makes it faster to clear that room. And the only way to open that room up, unfortunately, and progress on is to kill the skeletons, because that's the trigger the game's looking for. So now, because we've exhausted our options with both the Eastern Palace and the Palace of Darkness, I'm going to take a look into Skull Woods, even though it's not required. And I'm going to just see if there happens to be something we can access there. Now, we don't have the Fire Rod, which at this point I'm going to say is fine, because we, while it is required to beat the dungeon and kill Mafia, and more specifically open up the last part of the dungeon, it's not something where we necessarily needed to get to the areas of the dungeon that actually can hold items. Excuse me. Alright. And you'll notice, listening, that this is the, not the normal theme for Skull Woods. This is actually the Light World Dungeon theme. And that's, again, just because there's no crystal here. So it's treating it as if it was a pendant dungeon. And then we'll pull the switch on the wall, so that way I've got access to the big chest if I need it. First to the chests. Okay. That's a good thing. That means that we can unlock Pot Prison now. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Why is it Pot Prison? Because there's a bunch of monsters that are locked behind pots. And that one we need to deal with, and is going to be kind of a pain. Not really. Another key. Alright, so there might be something in Pinball Room. I'm not sure at this point. But we'll go down here first. Another key. Alright. No need to worry about going any further south. And then what I'm going to do, actually, is I'm going to drop down here deliberately so we can get back into the dungeon. There's nothing in here that we need to worry about. Okay. That's a good thing. Then that means that we want to check Pinball Room, especially because we've already got 2 small keys, and that means that there could very well be something we need in there. Pinball Room is right here. Okay. So we've got pretty much all the small keys we need at this point for the dungeon, but we haven't found any unique items yet. What I want to see in the next chest we look for is either going to be the big key so we can get the big chest, or just we start seeing unique items. I'm just going to get the ice right out here just to make these guys a little easier to deal with. Oh, come on. There we go. Smashy, smashy. Now, if you have the fire rod, that's what you're supposed to use to deal with these guys, but, you know, since we don't have it, we're just using a backup strat. The old method of freeze and smash with a hammer. I'm not going to pick up that skull right there. And there's our fire rod. Good, so now we have some progression. That's a welcome find. I'm going to clear out what I can here as well, just so that way we can at least get through as much as we can. And with the fire rod, what that means now is that we can go back and we can clear Desert Palace. And then, of course, we'll open up this just because there still is a chest or two in here we can grab. I'm just going to see what it is first. I'm not going to worry about killing Mothula just because it's kind of an annoying fight. And I don't want to fight Mothula unless I absolutely have to. And since this one does not have the green pendants to it, I'm not going to waste my time. Okay. Yep, that's what I wanted, so let's go see what's in the big chest. But now that we have the fire rod in our possession, that means a few things with the logic. First is that now that we have a fire source for rooms that can be lit with the fire rod, that means now that we have a means of lighting torches, that, you know, it might expect us to go into a darker area. Now, does this mean we'll have to worry about clearing Eastern Palace? Nah, I don't think so quite yet. Especially when we don't have the bow, because that means that, you know, we still need the bow to unlock that dungeon. But I am going to go check the safe, or the big chest here, just because I have the feeling there's probably another unique item in there. Oops, that's right. We gotta step on a star. Okay, so it's dungeon trash. That means that there's probably a unique item on Mothula. I'm not, again, going to worry about it for right now, especially when I'm not in a really good spot to fight Mothula with having low magic. So for now, that means we'll leave and not fall in the hole. Good. And then we'll save and quit to go back to the Dark World. Excuse me. And then this time I'm going to start from my house. And then I will go finish Desert Palace. And I have a sneaking suspicion there's probably going to be a progression-related item on Landmolas, which is the boss. That's the 3 giant worms. And I'm going to try and hang on to my green potion for that fight, because the fire rod makes fighting that boss really easy, because Landmolas die in 2 shots from the fire rod. And worst case, you know, once we get Zora's opened up, then we can also just, you know, use our rubies however we want. And just go to the potions way we want and get some blue pots or get whatever we want. Or in worst case, if I want another magic refill, I can just go find a fountain and just toss a pot into it. So, alright. So, super quick. I'm gonna go up this way. I'm actually gonna grab that magic refill just so I have enough magic to light the torches before the boss's room. And the reason why we waited for the fire source, and you guys will see this once I get up to that room, is that in order to actually open the boss's room, you need to have, there's 4 torches you need to light in order to activate a movable wall. So without the lantern or the fire rod, you can't actually open up the boss fight in this. This is a flying tile room. We just grab the key and we can skip it because flying tiles are annoying. In this room, we're going to go ahead and kill the things there. I don't even know what they're called. They look like sea anemones to me. Yep. And this is another flying tile room, but again, we can just skip it with the key right there. And then we're going to take out the fire rod that we just got. And light the torches. Yep. And I'm going to avoid that Igor. Alright, I'm going to leave the fire rod out just to see if I can get a shot or 2 out of it before I use my magic potion. Yeah, we don't have enough, so I'm just going to go ahead and use it. Try and make this a quick kill. There's 1. Oh, and we got 2 for 1 there. That's really good. Nice. And there's our hook shot, so it's another progression item. Good. So that's another crystal down. Good stuff. So we still have a little bit of a problem, though. We may still need to get a progression item or 2, but at least with the hook shot, if we can find something like, say, what am I trying to think of here? Like, if we can find one more item here, which there's one last item we can check for. We can either go to, say, the eastern part of Dark World with this, or I should say Death Mountain, excuse me. And we can also get a bunch of items there. So there's a couple last things I'm going to check. Oops. This also might mean that we need to go back into Palace of Darkness one more time, just because with the fire rod, that means now it expects us to deal with the dark room in the basement. So we can just turn once we get downstairs and then just light a torch and then we can see. Before we get to that point, I'm going to dip into the Dark World one more time. And we're going to go do Gary's chest. Excuse me. The other fun thing is that with the hook shot, this now allows me to do this, which is a really fun zip glitch. So now we can really go fast. And this is done by, if you're on a staircase, you can press with the hook shot and the Pegasus boots button at the same time. And for some reason, it glitches the game's thinking. So that way, you just go super fast and go at the speed at which, you know, you'd normally be running at the Pegasus shoes, but you've got full control over Link. So, that's kind of cool. You can also do that with a spin slash, which is a little bit harder, so I prefer to do it with a hook shot. At least in my opinion. It's harder, but, you know, people may disagree with me. So now where we're going is go back to the blacksmith's hut. And I'm going to grab a chest that's now mysteriously left behind since we brought the blacksmith gnome home. And then once we pick it up, we're going to save and quit so we can go back to the light world. And magically, through the process of saving and quitting, that chest has somehow followed us. This is done so that way, in the randomizer, if you want to do this side quest and get this chest, it's actually possible for you to do it without the magic mirror. The only downside, though, is that while the chest is following me, I cannot run with the Pegasus boots, because if I happen to do that, then I leave the chest behind. Unlike with the gnome, as you all saw earlier, who I ran like all heckin' back with the Pegasus boots. And there's our lantern. Perfect. So that was a worthwhile thing to do. So perfect. So now that we've got the lantern, I'm going to save and quit one more time, because now we're going to go up the mountain because there's a large concentration of chests on Death Mountain, and we're going to do both the Light World half and we're going to do the Dark World half. And the fastest way there is to start from the Sanctuary. Go up here. Excuse me. And now with the lantern, as you can see, we can actually see in the dark, which makes a lot of areas now accessible. And to that end, we may go back and do the full dungeon escape through the sewers, just because there are a chest or two that we still can get there. But for now, I'm going to disregard it, because it's just one item. It may or may not be something useful. We'll find out. But first, we're going to bring the old man home. This does two things. It gives us the starting point of the old man's hut here in the mountain, and he gives us the bow and arrow as well, so we get an item off of him. And the bow and arrow is super important, because now that means we can go finish Eastern Palace. So that's a huge find for us, and allows us to progress quite a bit. But first things first, I'm going to go up here. There's a couple items I want to check before we go to the proper side of things. We're going to check Spectacle Rock, which is just 50 rupees on the rock. I'm not worried about that. So I'm going to check and see what's actually in Spectacle Rock and see if it's something useful. And it's not. It's just a solitary arrow. So knowing that, we can go ahead and mark that off our maps because it's no longer of use to us. We're going to jump down. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to go take the lower route here, and we're going to go to the eastern side of Death Mountain. Because there's a lot of items we can get on this side of Death Mountain, both in the Light World and the Dark World. And where we're going to start is the Paradox Cave, and I'm going to take all the Light World items first. Excuse me. And we start by dropping down here. We're going to blow open this wall. There's 2 chests. There's the magic cape and 300 rupees. So it's a nice item to have. It's going to make the final fight against Ganon a little bit easier. And then we will check this. And actually I'm going to use the hookshot for this because hookshot's a bit easier I find against moldworms. Because it one-shots them and it's ranged. And then I'm going to take a bomb and then toss it over. Just so we can lower those blue pegs and get these. There's 300 rupees. There's a heart. Some arrows. Another heart piece, which gives us another heart. And then 20 rupees. So cool. It's a nice find. Got that now. And then we'll escape through here. And now we're going to go back to the Paradox Cave so I can actually get to the top of Death Mountain. And for those who maybe don't know why it's called Paradox Cave, I didn't even realize this until actually I started asking around and reading about this. Called Paradox Cave because it's the lowest point on Death Mountain, yet if we take this left door and we go all the way up, all of a sudden now, we're on the top of Death Mountain. And then we're going to drop down here into the spiral cave, and we're going to get the one chest that's in here. I'd like to see, I'd like to see a sword upgrade soonish, just because fighting things with a limp sword, or a fighter sword, depending on what you want to call it, is kind of irritating at this point. Oh, whatever. Excuse me. Cool, so it's another heart container. This is good. Alright, so now that we've cleared out the light side of Death Mountain, we're going to go over to the dark side, which we can get to by just pulling up this rock. And there we go. Now, there's no Paradox Cave in the Dark World. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go over here, and we're going to go in on the left side. And I'm going to have to be very careful here because normally I have the magic mirror by this point, but instead what we're going to do is we're going to use the hook shot so I can get through this little puzzle. And then we'll just have to go up like this one time. Now, if I had the mirror, what I could do is I can make those blocks disappear, and this would be a lot faster, but we just aren't that fortunate this run. Then we're going to drop down here. These out of the way. Okay, so nothing terribly exciting. There's a heart piece, but again, it's not something that really helps us out, aside from just gives us more life, which is nice, but there's better things we can be thinking about. But what we will do is I'm going to lift this up, and we're going to go into Hookshot Cave. Now this chest down here, just to demonstrate, you can get by bonking. And there's the magic boomerang, which is kind of cool. So one of those chests you don't need the hook shot to get. There's the Master Sword. Cool. And the hearts. And then heart piece. Cool. So yeah, a lot of good upgrades that time. All right. So now that's out of the way, we're effectively done with this. So I'm going to actually save and quit for now. And that also opens up, using the same method, we can also go do Tower of Hair if we want. But first, I want to go finish Eastern Palace just so we can get that out of the way. And then we'll be effectively done with Light World Dungeons. Now, when I'm climbing stairs like this, I'm actually jiggling left and right because it actually speeds up Link's movement going upstairs, if you'll notice. And it's again, a minor time save you can do during runs just to help reduce the amount of time you're actually taking. This is the one danger of doing a double dip with the dungeons, that you sometimes forget where you are. So we have no dungeon items yet, so we still need the big key to get to the boss, which is probably in a later chest over here somewhere in the dungeon. So we've still got plenty to clear and deal with. And just wait. Ah, somehow I triggered it. That's okay. At least with the Master Sword, it's a little bit longer compared to the Fighter's Sword, so it makes dealing with skeletons a little easier. Excuse me. And then now we can see, we'll go through here. Key. I'm not going to worry about the skeletons here. We don't need to. We open that up. And I'm just going to damage boost through this. There's our big key. So, perfect. So now that we've got the big key, we'll open the big chest. We'll see what's inside. We know it's not going to be anything unique because we already got those here. Yeah, there's our map. And then I'm betting the compass is probably held by Armos. Actually, yeah, we've already got the... Oh, never mind. Okay, so now we go up. The other thing I'm going to do real quick, just to get a quick health refill, I'm going to turn an anti-fairy into a fairy. And then we'll open that up. Now these Armos I don't have to fight. We're just going to press the button and just skip the room. And then we got to hit the upper left switch here, which try not to take damage. Now red Armos, or Igors here I guess they're called, you do have to have the bow to kill. And this is why the bow is required for this dungeon. Magic, very nice. Nah, wasn't fast enough. That's okay. Get full arrows, because I'm probably going to go through a good chunk of them here. I'm going to get myself in the left corner to start, wait for them to spawn. There we go. Pretty clean. And that finishes off Eastern Palace, so we're 3 crystals deep. More to go. And then with all these items as well, we can also go finish Palace of Darkness, which we'll probably actually do real quick, just so we can get it out of the way. Oops. And to do that, of course, we're going to have to go to the Dark World for that, but there's a thing nearby, which I realize now maybe the best option wasn't to save and quit, but that's okay. Now, because of that, I'm actually going to be looking for arrows now, because we used up a good 25 of them on that fight. And I'd like to have arrows just because, well, again, there's a lot of enemies that we do have to have arrows to defeat, namely mimics. And just like with Igors, you cannot kill a red mimic without the bow and arrow. So we're going to go all the way over here. But this time we're going to head down. And then over here, we're going to go in. There's our gateway to the Dark World. Although, unlike the Eastern Palace, there's no convenient, like, straight-up shot path to the Palace of Darkness. So we're going to have to go find this the hard way, which, thankfully, our convenient up arrows are right there. And sadly, we're not going to see Kiki anymore because he's done his job, so he's just kind of hiding out. Alright. Now we will finish Palace of Darkness proper. And for that, I'm going to head down, because now that we have bow and arrow, I can actually finish the mimic puzzles that are here. Oops. Now with the Metroids there, you unfortunately cannot harm them when they're energized like that. Or at least with the sword you can't. Barely enough arrows for that. Alright, very good. And we'll get a chest right away. Small key. Okay. I'm gonna place a bomb right there as I promptly get shocked. Okay, those are the small keys that I expected. And then we need to do that for now. Yeah, the red ones are always the hardest to deal with here. But I'm getting rid of these guys because in order to get going where we need to, I need to raise the blue pegs. If I toss a bomb, and there we go. I could have alternatively tried to do that with the red cane. It's just, in my experience, harder to position, and not always the friendliest way of doing things. So, okay. Grabbing this skull here just so I can deal with Helmasaur waiting for me at the end of the hallway. I'm not going to go into the left room quite yet because I don't have the big key. Speak of, there it is. But before we go back left, I'm going to go down to the basement because there's 2 chests down here we can grab. Right, and then now we'll go in here. There's going to be 2 more chests, and then we will find our way to the big chest. So 20 rupees. That's nice and convenient. Not that we really need rupees right now, but there's the flippers. That's a good progression item. That's a welcome addition. Excuse me. So with the flippers, what that means is that we can go properly do Zora's Waterfall now, which, depending on what we get next out of this dungeon or kind of where the seed's leading us, I may go do, I may skip it. I haven't decided yet at this point. I'm just waiting to see what else we get, because I don't think we've hit 6 unique items yet, which is how many are here. But now that we've got everything there, we're going to go back over this way. And then we're going to go through Fake Hellway. Why is it fake? Now this is why. Not very threatening, is it? Now that we've got everything that we can topside, we're going to go back over here. And we're going to open up this door, which, being as we have the red cane, or the cane of Samaria, that makes that real easy. Then we have some more mimics to deal with. Again, trying to conserve my arrows at this point. Other reason why you need to have the bow is that you can't get this wall moving without it, so... Now what we're looking for next is going to be the magic mirror, since in order to access Ice Palace and Turtle Rock, by extension I guess, we need to know, or we will need to go back and forth, and to do that we need to have the magic mirror. So I'm hoping it's somewhere nearby, is my hope. Either I'm hoping Helmasaur King drops it, or we find it at, like, say, Zora's Waterfall, which it very well could be possible that it's there. It also might be in Swamp Palace, even though it's not required. There's a couple other options in my head that I'm going through right now where theoretical locations of where it could be. Now I'm have to be very careful in this fight coming up because I only have the Master Sword. I also don't have Ideal Life, so I'm going to be very careful here, and we're going to hope for the best. First things first, we have to smash off the mask with the hammer. Place yourself between the 3 fireballs in a cross pattern because they always shoot diagonal. He is shooting a lot of fireballs, so kind of a bad pattern. What I want him to do is to try and do a tail strike. Like that. And now that his mask is off, he's going to be moving faster. There we go. Dead boss.
Well, do we have a quick second here to go over our stuff again?
Absolutely.
Perfect, thank you. Guys, just a reminder, again, thank you all for being here. There's so many things you could be doing at any given moment. You're just going to spend time with us at this expo. We will always appreciate that, seriously. So thank you to all the viewers here, and especially thank you to our runners and our current runner right now. So we'll get right through this and we'll get back to the run. Again, all of this is for our charity, To Write Love on Our Arms. To Write Love on Our Arms is a nonprofit movement dedicated to presenting hope and finding help for people struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. It exists to encourage, inform, inspire, and also invest directly into treatment and recovery. So again, we have a link down in our Twitch panel as well as a timer right here in the chat. So if you click on that, all of those donations go directly to the charity. We never see the money, we never touch the money. And for the record, unfortunately, we reached out to the platform that we're working on. We are aware that PayPal donations are not currently working at the moment, but credit card and debit card is currently working. That is out of our hands, unfortunately, but we are trying to fix that. Hopefully for the last day, we'll see what happens there. And one last thing, we do have a shop. You can see it right here in the chat as well, and that is also linked in one of the Twitch panels. Anything that is purchased, you can use the coupon code DPX2K19 to get some money off of any merch that you want there, and any merch that you buy, that also goes directly to the charity.
All right, cool. So that was a nice find. What I'm doing right now is a little bit of a safety strat. I'm getting refills on my potions right now because up next on our docket is going to be, as I said, Ice Palace, since we do actually have the ability to access that. So what I'm doing is I'm refilling with medicine right now and getting that for free because I guess I'm awesome. But I mainly want to have magic refills going into this because Ice Palace is a very magic-demanding dungeon, and without half magic, I'm either going to have to be very careful about how I use my magic, or I'm going to need to have a refill or two in order to finish this fight and to finish the dungeon. So the first thing we'll do is we'll pick that up, go to the Dark World, and that's going to put us right in the middle of Ice Palace. Which I have both a love and hate relationship with. As you can probably tell, Fire Rod is required for this dungeon. So anytime you have a seed where you get Fire Rod right away, always be prepared to go in and do Ice Palace unless it tells you otherwise. And even then, I'd say still be prepared. Step on the floor tile here, and we'll kill the slime. Excuse me. Now, I'm going to be using a hook shot a lot here because there's these kind of, I guess, platypus things that we have to kill. And they somehow die in one shot to the hook shot. And if I miss, the other cool thing about the hook shot is that while it's firing out and back, you can actually abuse the iframes for it, because during the whole hook shot animation, Link is invulnerable. Oh, that's not the pot we wanted. Oops. Yeah, we're going to be a bunny for a little bit. There we go. That iframe abuse is going to become very handy later, especially when we get to Turtle Rock in one particular room. Having Cane of Samaria here is also really nice because it saves us time with one of the last rooms before the boss. But first things first, we're going to see kind of a Zelda classic enemy here, Stalfos. And it's just like as you expect. Hit them, they drop down, drop a bomb on their bones, watch them go boom. Oops. Now this room is not quite as straightforward as it seems. One of these Metroids has a key, and the floor is moving and likes to change directions, so this is a battle to keep myself healthy. Step on the floor switch right there, and then I'm just going to zip right along. Again, because while Link is moving with hook shot, he is completely invincible. Get rid of all those guys in order to advance. It's going to take damage here and just damage boost. And this is probably the worst stairway in the game because in order to go down a staircase, Link has to be perfectly aligned with it, which is very difficult to do on a slippery floor. And another note with these kind of ice zombies guys is that they can only be killed with a fire rod. Or something hot is how I would describe it. Now, if I had the small key, I'd be bombing the floor on the left side and going through the big chest, but because we don't have it yet, I'm going to skip doing that for now. Small key right there. Uh-oh. Alright, and then we hit the switch. Anti-fairies are really hard in this dungeon because, of course, they steal your magic power away. And I'm probably going to slip on the floor and fall. Excuse me. Here, I'm going to kill both Metroids, grab the chest. Alright, we got all the small keys in the world right now. We got 3 of them. I know it's kind of hard to see with the tiles in the dungeon here, but we got all the small keys to work with right now. We just need to start finding some doors to open and start getting some meaningful things. I'm going to be doing my best to not die here. There we go. Perfect. It's also worth noting that Metroids you can kill with the hook shot safely. It doesn't matter if they're angry and energized or not. You can hit them with that and you're totally safe. Doing some quick menuing here, just so I can quickly move through here as we get another key. Then we'll kill the Stalfos. I'm going to pull the tongue here, just so that way we can get the door open. That's a very important find. That is silver arrows. That's going to mean that the fight against Ganon at the end of the game is now a lot easier because we can do it as they intended us to, which is going to be shooting with those. So that's a very welcome find. And then we'll pull the statue's tongue again. And honestly, I will say getting the silver arrows right now has me really relieved. Because as cool as it is to do a silver list kill of Ganon, I hate doing it because just requires a lot of concentration and it's just kind of gross to do. But that said, it is possible to kill Ganon without the silver arrows. And I can explain how that's done later if people really want to know that. It just is very, very difficult. Okay, so now that we've got the big key, we'll go ahead and we'll bomb the floor here. And we'll see what's in the big chest. Hopefully something progression related. No, but heart's a heart. I'll take it. Go right past the Metroids and the Stalfos. Here I am going to actually do that so I can get a fairy and get some health back. I'm just going to knock the Stalfos down, and then here's where the Cane of Samari saves time, because rather than do a very aggravating block puzzle, you can just use the cane to generate a block. And that gets you in here. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to equip Bombos, because, well, after I knock this peg down, because that's going to make the first part of the fight against Cold Stare very easy. So here we go. Boss number 5. First thing I'm going to do is just use Bombos to get rid of that nice ice shell around him, make him vulnerable. And then the rest of this is just about accuracy with the Fire Rod. And avoiding stuff falling on my head. And here's where I'm going to use the first of those magic refills. Just because it's going to be way easier to try and do this with the Fire Rod. But what I want to try and do, if I can, is just line them up so I can hit multiple targets in one shot. It just makes it that much more efficient. Just like that. Cool. And that is Dungeon the 5th. So now that we've got that out of the way, what I'm going to do next is, just because we're really close by, or actually can't because I don't have the mirror, we're going to save and quit just because I have to get back to the light world. And this time, we're going to start from the sanctuary, or excuse me, the mountain cave, and we're going to do a couple of things here. First is that we're going to go cross over to the eastern side of Death Mountain, but not for the reason you suspect. It's so that we can get access to the Tower of Hera without the mirror. And of course, I'm just going to zip along by as fast as I can there, which unfortunately with the enemies here in the falling rocks, once you get hit by something, unfortunately that glitch stops. So, kind of tragic, but it is what it is. Then we're going to stay in the light world this time. We'll go back to the Paradox Cave. Go up. And what we're going to hope for with Tower of Hera is that there isn't a required item in the basement, because that usually means that I have to take time, especially if we don't get, if like the small key to actually open the door that goes to the basement is on the boss. That's what I don't want to see. The other item we're going to get while we're here, since we have the Master Sword, is that I'm going to go ahead and activate the tablet. Now, normally this is Ether in the main game, if you're playing it normally, but we're going to see what it is. Yeah, we get some bombs. Cool. And then with that, let's go into the Tower of Hera. We'll get crystal number 6. Now, I'm going to check the basement first just to see if this is a unique item. And there's the key I was talking about, so that's a good thing. And I realized I kind of forgot to hit the switch on my way up, so derp. We want to do that so that way we can actually get back up. And the next thing I'm going to do this. And again, what I want to see at this point is a sword upgrade sometime soon, just because trying to do Trinex or Ganon with just the Master Sword is going to be a very, very uphill battle. And then the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to do a little bit of an exploit here, just because I really don't like these rooms. So I'm going to use the magic cape, and I'm going to hang onto the wall. And you'll notice that while I'm hanging onto the wall, I'm not actually losing magic power. So this is just making this room trivial at this point. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to say, Metadog, or anything else you guys want to add, because when I'm in these rooms, unfortunately, the only thing I can do is just sit and wait until the pattern's on the floor. If you guys have anything else to add at this point. Otherwise, 2 more tiles, and we're good. That so we can go over here, and then we're going to get rid of the skeletons just so that I don't waste magic firing the rod. There's our chest. That's what we wanted, so good. That is a very welcome item to have. Now we're going to raise that up again, just so we can actually get out of here. And now with the big key, we can actually climb this tower. Actually, I'm going to realize that I don't have the reach to do it with the boomerang here, nor do I have the mirror, which would have made things very convenient. Okay, perfect. Now we can actually go climb the tower. Okay. Now again, what we're looking for, what we want to see out of the chest going forward is that I'd really like to see a sword upgrade. Shield upgrade might be nice, but not necessarily required. It'll be handy to have once we get to Turtle Rock, because that's going to be our final dungeon of this run, by the looks of things. But I still would just like to, you know, have at least one sword upgrade before we get to Ganon's Tower. We'll go like that. Excuse me. And then because we have the hook shot, we can also do this real easy too for getting this chest. Although then you run that risk like I did and you just fall. That's okay. One fall ain't gonna hurt us. It's a minor time loss. I thought the fireball had passed, but it hadn't. That's okay. I'm gonna wait to see it. There we go. It's a heart piece and a refill. Nice. We completed another heart container. Although now I'm in a little bit of a pickle. Not really. Excuse me. And again, I apologize that I keep coughing, guys. Just, again, being sick is not fun. Alright. So now we're at the final floor before we go to the boss. And this is a boss that can potentially be painful. What I want to avoid doing is falling in the holes in the floor. Because if I fall down during this fight, that's going to reset the boss, and I have to start the fight over again. So a big part of this fight is going to be just staying out of the Moldworm's way. Yeah, like that. That's okay. One time is not a big deal. That's just really bad luck. And unfortunately, to my knowledge, there's not a real way to control how the Moldworm moves. We just kind of have to work with what we get. Oh my god. Alright, third time's the charm. We'll go with that. I will also add that this is probably my least favorite fight in the whole game. And now these right there, I have to wait for him to move before I can actually jump down and actually start this. Alright, one more hit. There we go. Oof. Nearly bit it again, but we're okay. We're good. And we get a bottle for our efforts. Okay, so we're up to 3 bottles now, since I apparently haven't been tracking that. And now that we've got that, we're ready to go back over to the other side of Death Mountain again. I'm going to check and see what Turtle Rock is locked by. Now, if it's locked by the Bombos Medallion or the Aether Medallion, we're good. We can go in and we can finish the dungeon. It's going to be hard, but we can at least try. But again, I'm hoping there could also very well be the possibility that there is a sword upgrade or two within Turtle Rock, which is what I'm going to kind of bank on at this point. Because this is the last crystal we need to get before we go to Ganon's Tower. So, very easy. Just a simple puzzle. Alright, what are we locked by? And it's by Quake, so we don't have access to this dungeon yet, unfortunately, is what that means. So now it's a search to find where the Quake Medallion is, and we've got a couple options as far as where it can be. So once we find the Quake Medallion, we're good. Excuse me. And the first place I'm going to go check, while I'm looking over things here, is that we're actually going to go back and start from my house here. I'm going to go check the rest of Castlescape just to see if it happens to be there. Excuse me. Okay. On the right side here. I think that's the last of the chests, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's the last of it. So, okay, we've cleaned that out, so that's good. What that means I'm going to do next is that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to check the Bumper Cave. Since we have both the Hookshot and the Magic Cape, that's going to be my next sneaking suspicion. Now, normally the Quake Medallion in, like, you know, non-random Link to the Past, you get that from Catfish. Excuse me. The fastest way to the Bumper Cave is right here. Have that rock over our heads. And Bumper Cave is up here. Nope. Not a rock, it's an actual enemy, it's a lie. Okay, so it's not Bumper Cave because the one item that we can get is right there. So we know it's not that. So we can scratch that off our list. Oops. So there's a couple other things we can try. Excuse me. So what I'm going to try next here is I'm going to go to the Mountain Cave. And we're going to go to the top of the Mountain Cave, and I'm going to do the Spike Cave. That's going to be next on my list of places to check. Otherwise, we also still have Zora's waterfall as an option. We've got more than enough rupees to do that. But I figure this will be a real quick check. That's because we're zipping right along. Then just jump down here. And we'll take a look at Spike Cave. Now what I'm going to do here is use the Cane of Burna. Just get through here as fast as I can. Okay, so it's not here. So we remain on a fetch quest. Now, what a possibility could be would be that it's either inside of Swamp Palace which we don't have access to, or it could be somewhere in Skull Woods. We're just kind of running out of places to check at this point. So the next step we're going to take is we're going to start from our house again. And because we haven't gone up to Zora's Fountain yet, that's where we're going to go next. And there's 2 items up at Zora's Fountain. There's the actual, like, Zora man himself, and then there's the item on the ledge. And with the flippers, we can get both. Past the dancing slimes. The other thing I'm going to do while we're here is that I'm actually going to go check out the cave one more time, and we're going to refill. Just because we're here. Go back out, in one more time, just so we have them. Perfect. That'll hopefully save us some trouble with the last couple dungeons of the game here. Alright, so we're going to be able to see what's on the ledge first. Okay, so the ledge is not important. Actually, we're going to keep going this way. So we got ripped off by Zora. That means that we're running out of options again as far as where we can check. So the next things I'm going to do is I'm going to check the cave behind the Axeman. And I'm also going to check, even though it's highly unlikely at this point based on what I'm seeing, is that I'm going to check the pedestal as well. Because at this point, we need to find that Quake Medallion. And if it's here, behind the Woodsman, then that means we're going to kill Aghanim. Which we have more than enough stuff to do. That is, yep, so this is an Aga Seed. So now that we know that, we're going to save and quit one more time just to get us where we need to be, and then we're going to go kill Aghanim, because the only way to get the Quake Medallion at this point is to go kill Aghanim. Because to get to the tree that actually leads to where that medallion is, that only becomes available after Aghanim is defeated in the Light World. So we're going to head back to the castle. And this time we're going to go head up Aghanim's tower. Now, the bad news with Aghanim's tower is that there's no unique items in his tower, so this is going to be absolutely fruitless as far as progression items go. But for those who maybe wanted to see this fight, well, here you go. And having silver arrows makes some of this pretty trivial. Excuse me. Now, there's some rooms and enemies I'm going to be skipping fighting just because it's kind of a waste of time. I'm not going to worry too hard about that. Oh, I need the key here still. That I do have to find. There it is. Ta-da! skip those guys again and just go up the stairs. Again, skip the soldiers because we don't need to worry about them. And again, I'm just going to be bypassing a lot of this and trying to just get through this as quick as I can. And there's our key. It's always the first bow soldier on the left that has it. There we go. The one nice thing about having the silver arrows is it allows you to cheese a good chunk of this. Unfortunately, you can't use the silver arrows against Aghanim, but that's okay. And then these guys we're all just going to skip because it's just not worth our time to fight them. Yep. Laters. Later. All right. Have a run in, and oh noes, we're too late. He's gonna make Princess Zelda vanish. Alright, so this fight is more or less pure RNG. Our strategy is we're going to stand to his left or right, because that's going to be the easiest way that we can smack his own magic back at him. And also, if he fires off a blue, like, series of spheres, which is what we don't want, we're not going to get hit. And we need to hit him with 6 of his own big spheres of magic. That's 3. And then every time he fires 3 or 4 or so, he's going to move to the top center. And then we just get out of the way, because he's going to fire a big blast of lightning that we can't do anything about right now. One more. Perfect RNG. And then that's going to inevitably warp us back to the light world, but the dark world. But the good news though is that we get a full magic refill and a heart refresh off that. Magic is what I'm more concerned about. And now that that's done, with Aghanim dead, that opens up a new portal to the Dark World should we need it at the castle, but more importantly, this gives us access to the Quake Medallion. And even though she was just banished to the Dark World, she's still somehow in the Sanctuary. Funny how that works. And the other bad news to killing Aghanim is that the overworld and the light world now is actually filled with harder enemies and more of them, but that's okay. We're not going to be needing to be in the light world for much longer. Alright, so now that we've got that, we can unlock Turtle Rock, and we can do the last dungeon of the game that we need to complete. Get some kisses for good luck.
Colix, you have a second?
Yes, I do.
Chat is one. Well, actually, more people that are actually here at the event are wondering. You've got the rando items in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen.
Yep.
They can't see or they don't know what it is that is next to the magic mirror.
So what is next to the magic mirror? That is the shovel.
So in between the mirror and the shovel, that little.
Like the little upward pointing thing? That's the shovel.
No, the one to the left of that.
Oh.
Like the little dot looking.
That I'm not quite sure. We're gonna find that out probably. But at this point,
Oh, okay.
I will say we're effectively go mode because we have pretty much all the items we need to finish the game at this point. What I'm thinking that might be actually is going to be possibly half magic. I'm not too sure. We'll light it up later and we'll figure out what it is because sometimes my item tracker just the way that I have it displayed on my stream it just sometimes comes through a little funky. So.
Okay, perfect. I just had some questions, so I'll let you to it.
Yeah, no worries. So, as I said, now that we've got Quake, we can open up Turtle Rock. And we've got all the items we need to finish that dungeon, aside from a sword upgrade or two, which, for all we know, could be in here. We're going to find out real quick, because there are a lot of items in Turtle Rock. Specifically, there are 5. All right. Let's go. So Turtle Rock is kind of a pain in the neck as far as dungeons goes. There's this mechanic, which is making a carpet you have to ride across big pits with. I think is this the room we're looking for? I'm pretty sure it's not. Yeah, it's not. Oops. So, there's also a lot of unique items, or excuse me, unique enemies that only appear in this dungeon, which do a lot of damage. There are some of them that you just, as far as I'm aware, you cannot kill. But yeah, just kind of makes this overall a painful experience. So we light the torches here, and then I'm going to use the hook shot to pull myself off the carpet and fall deliberately. It's just so I can get to this door while the torches are still lit, and then get through. And then, at the risk of wasting magic, I'm going to use the cape just to get through this quick. Yep. And there's the mirror for what it's worth. Kind of odd that we're getting it so late, but that's okay. And then conveniently we have a full magic right there, so cool. And then there's one more place we want to go to before we proceed. That's going to be this room right here. Now, I'm going to have to be a little more careful because I don't have the mirror shield here, so the eye beams fired by the eyes on the wall can actually hurt me, and a lot. Which we're going to have to deal with real quick. And that's how we get out of there. And the big key is a welcome find, because that means that we can go deeper, and we also have access to the big chest and the boss room. Now, I'm going to use the fire rod to get rid of these guys, just because with only having just the Master Sword, doing a spin slash to get rid of them won't work. And I'd rather deal that and deal with burning animation versus having to try and kill all their individual parts. Also, as a random question, why the heck are there chain chomps in here? This is the only time in the game you see them, for the record. And that one I'm going to avoid. Go down the pipe. I jokingly call this the Mario dungeon because there's Mario enemies here. There's just it's a very silly and very painful dungeon. And on top of that, you fight a big angry dragon at the end in the form of Trinex. So it's no Bowser, but it's still a dragon. We'll hit that. Bust out the fire rod. Torch that thing. That's fine. Now, if we got the mirror, what that means to me is that we might actually end up doing Mimic Cave, which won't be so bad, but it's just, again, one more thing we have to worry about doing. I'm also going to be taking full magics where I can get them, because this is another dungeon that requires a lot of magic usage.
Golix, I don't know if you have our chat up, but someone just came in and said, I will donate $20 if the runner checks pedestal.
I know exactly what he means, and I don't think we're going to have time for that, but I can certainly
I don't know what that means, but I wanted to give you a heads up that that donation is on the table. All
right. If the chat so demands it, I may just go back and check pedestal then. It's going to be a huge time loss if we do that. Fair warning, but we can do that.
Well, it is for charity, but I will leave it up to you. But that is on the table, so $20 if you check pedestal.
All right, and what the chat is referring to, by the way, is checking the pedestal where the Master Sword normally is. And this is something that you can do once you have the Book of Medora, which we have. And by checking the pedestal, it will tell you exactly what the pedestal is holding as far as an item goes. And sometimes this can be required in a run because the pedestal might actually be holding something that you need. Okay. I think I got him lined up. Oh, come on. Like, this is probably my least favorite of these kind of puzzle rooms, I guess. It's always a pain in the butt to line up the mimics so you can shoot them. And that ended up being a big waste of time anyway, so. I was gonna say, we also are it's gonna tell us what was on the pedestal as well at the end credits too, just saying, so. I don't know if that's gonna count in their mind, but. And conveniently we have a half magic, so that's nice. Cool. That'll make the fight against Trinex a little bit easier, because now all of the items we have that consume magic now cost half as much. And then these doors, or these, I guess, locked hallways are both bonkable, so I'm only going to worry about the one that actually gives us progression. Oop.
We also have another $20 donation on the table for that pedestal check, so that's a total of $40.
Chat,
He
you
said,
are
I
making...
will if he manually checks pedestal.
Okay. I was hoping he would be specific. So, if you really want the manual pedestal check, I suppose we can make that happen.
If you're up for it, I'm just saying it is for charity, so don't worry about the timer, because you're the last run anyways, but $40
Alright.
on the table.
For $40, I will go check pedestal. That's money that's well spent for the cause that we're raising money towards, so I will do it. But first, let's finish Turtle Rock. So we run right through that hallway. And then first things what I'm going to do here is, just because this is kind of a painful hallway to deal with, we're going to blow open this door. And this is what we call the safety door. Because either you have to find a way to dodge the lasers or use another item to actually get past those laser shots. And if I happen to die during this, then we're going to restart from right there versus the last door we entered, which was before the big chest. So there's our key. Okay. So unfortunately, we did not see a sword upgrade there, which is what I wanted to see, but that's okay. I think we can make this fight work anyway, even without having that. It's just going to be a lot harder. Thinking about a few things in my head. Alright. So now we'll go down here. And then what we will do is I'm going to make the carpet first, then grab the half magic, and then we go across all the way here, and then we fight Trinex. Now, Trinex without at least the Tempered Sword or the Gold Sword is a very major pain, so I'm going to hope this goes well and that we don't die. Actually, we want Ice Rod first. I want to deal with that head. Oops. Oop. Okay. This is why I'm glad we grabbed those potions. And then I'm going to try a different stat. There we go. So because I don't have access to the Tempered Sword, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to item swap a lot, which, again, not ideal, but it's at least going to let us get this fight done. There we go. And now it's phase 2. It's just that middle section is where he's vulnerable. There we go. That is a dead Trinex. And he had the map. Lucky us. So with that, we have our final crystal. And we technically at this point are ready to go fight Ganon's Tower, but since the chat demands it, we will go and check Pedestal real quick. And because I want to check a few other items, and I realize now just to see if we happen to get lucky and get a sword upgrade or two. So there's a few things we can check now that we've got the mirror. Alright. I suppose there's another reason why this person wants me to check the pedestal. And that's because usually there's hilarious text written on it as far as what the pedestal is hiding. So what I'm going to do actually to speed this up, I realize, is I'm going to go ahead and go back. Or actually, well, hold on. I take that back. We're going to stay in the Dark World for now just so I can get a couple of particular items. Namely, I want to check the other tablet, and I also want to go check one mirror spot. So, real quick. Excuse me. First thing we're going to do is we're going to check this down here. We're going to head all the way over here to where Gary's location would be. We're going to go all the way over here, take our time, and then we're going to warp right inside the pegs. This puts us up on a ledge that normally cannot be reached. And then here, excuse me, we can check this tablet and we'll see what we get. And we get some bombs. And then we'll dip back into the Dark World. Again, I would love to see a sword upgrade right now. At least get to Tempered before we go fight Ganon. But we'll do that before we actually open up Ganon's Tower. Because there's one other easy check we can do at this point. Now that we've got all 7 crystals. In fact, we'll do that right now. Since we're taking our time to check the pedestal. We're going to go buy a big bomb. And we have a very specific place we're going to bring this bomb, which we can't run to because once I hit that B button, it's going to start the detonator. Or I guess light the fuse, since this is Zelda and I guess something high-tech like a detonator doesn't exist. Convenient. Alright. So we're actually going to go to the side of the pyramid. Excuse me. We're going to go all the way up. I'm going to set the bomb. And I'm just going to wait for this thing to explode. It's no big deal, right? It's just going to explode in my face. Totally fine. Alright. There's our mirror shield. And some bombs. So cool. Was worth it. I'm going to toss a bottle in. And she gave us a B. Not what I wanted. I guess I've just been abusing it too much. Excuse me. Although B can be helpful in Ganon's Tower in some spots, so I'm actually kind of relieved we got that. And then now we're going to run over here. We're going to make one last check. Which, again, I'm thinking at this point, based on what we're getting, all those sword upgrades are probably in Ganon's Tower. At least one of them is. But we'll check anyway. And then I break out the mirror real quick. See ya. And we'll take a quick walk in here. And hey, we got a mushroom. Okay, so that's what, I guess if you're wondering, that's what that little thing was. It was the mushroom. Since now we know that's what it actually lights up. Which we'll turn that into since we're taking our time, and we'll go for completion's sake, I guess. So the next thing we're going to do is that I'm going to run up here, and run past the thief, and hopefully not get robbed. I'll warp back right here. Since there's guards actually actively walking around Kakariko Village now. All the green guards are pretty much gone too, if you'll notice. And then we will go manually check the pedestal. So the pedestal is where you normally get the Master Sword in the real game. It's all the way up here. You need the three pendants to grab it, but you can check it by just reading this. This will give you 10 shots with your bow. So there's 10 arrows on the pedestal is what's actually there. So not worth our time to go through the trouble of getting all the pendants with this. Yep, and we got robbed anyway, so great. That's alright. We'll go check the two last spots that we can check at this point, which will be turning in the mushroom and then going behind the pose. So that said, random person, I hope you're happy. We saw that it is not, in fact, the Master Sword on the pedestal, but it is, in fact, 10 arrows. First things first, we're going to go over here. Run past everything. We're going to go to the graveyard, I guess, or whatever this place happens to be. And then we'll go up this ladder. We use the mirror. And it's back to the light world. And, well, okay, it's 50 rupees. Excuse me. And with that check out of the way, we're going to go right over here.
All right, so do we have a second for that donation?
Yeah, absolutely. Read away.
All right, so that donation came in $20 from Zethabot. It says, let our overlord take over with massive power, forcing people to waste time so our brethren may save more time. $20 for checking, a waste of time. ETW, PGA, someone will have to make up for the 20 extra that was promised.
Oh boy. Well, at least it's money towards a good cause, so I can't really complain about that. Even though it technically cost me a PB. So.
Oh, well then we appreciate you doing that for charity. So.
Yep. Again, it's for a good cause, and to Right Love on Our Arms is a charity that I can get behind on a personal level. So.
Perfect. Well, we do appreciate that. So we'll let you get back to it.
Yep. Especially because checking the mushroom also ended up being a colossal waste of time. So, all right. Now, we really, this time, are ready to go tackle Ganon's Tower. We have everything we need. We're go mode. It's just a matter of going and doing it. Excuse me. Alright, so now that we have the mirror, we can actually take the easy way, I guess, to get to Ganon's tower a little bit. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go up this way and probably lose our speed boost from the rock, but that's okay. We can just get it back, or we are going to retain it, I guess. And we go up into the Dark World. And we're going to mirror. And then we got to go run over. Oops. Apparently hit this guy. But then we're going to run this way. Excuse me. Ugh. And then we're going to use the same portal we used to get to Turtle Rock. Once I can get past those irritating little guys. To get back into the Dark World on the top of the mountain. And then from there, we can run on over and we can get into Ganon's tower. Now, once we're inside Ganon's tower, it kind of shifts, because at this point we have everything we need to finish the game. So anything we find at this point is essentially icing on the cake. Once we find the big key, and I usually like to have 2 spare small keys on hand for this, we will use the mirror to go back to the first floor, and then we start the climb. Alright, so here we go. Hopefully we can find a sword upgrade or 2 while we're in here. Now, I'm going to start clearing a little bit of the right side of the tower first, because there's a couple of quick chests we can get in here. And it's namely these 2 guys. So there's the ocarina for what it's worth. And those are the 2 fastest chests you can get right from the get-go. And then I'm not going to bother with 300 rupees, because rupees at this point are irrelevant. We'll grab that small key. That opens the door. And then we'll go up here. We'll check in here, because there's a lot of chests. And here's where ether comes in handy, because rather than try and hunt down all these skeletons, I'm just going to ether them away. Small key. There's the map. Okay, we got plenty of keys. There we go. That's an upgrade I want. There's the There's the Cheeto sword. Excuse me. But we still don't have a big key, so we're going to keep clearing out the lower floor here. We have to have that in order to advance. So I'm going to try and hurry, just see if I can just grab it. Alright, so that ended up being not helpful, but that's alright. We'll use the block right there, because that's how we hit that. And we will lower the orange pegs. Take the warp mirror. Warp tile, excuse me. I don't know why I like to call them warp mirrors. It's just, I don't know. My brain went someplace that my, I guess, logic didn't want to. I don't know. Anyway, it's late. Another small key, so we're looking good so far. Now, there's a bombable wall right here. I'm going to open it up because there's a lot of chests in here again. So it's a chance to get more stuff. Would be really nice if we get the gold sword, or the butter sword as we call it. More arrows. 5 rupees. 20 rupees. Another 20 rupees. So nothing useful, unfortunately. So we're going to keep going. And this is just a lot of warp tiles. Here. it's this guy. Oh, no. Yeah, it's bottom left, that's right. Sometimes you forget when you're old as I am. Okay. So that more or less cleans out the left side of Ganon's tower. I'm going to go up here just for a moment, because in order to see the floor, I have to light that torch. And then now we got to hurry across it. Or if that torch happens to go out, then I've got to hopefully remember where the floor is. Yep, we're good. And hey, we have a glitched enemy. Nice. That's an anti-fairy. Let's turn it into health. And then one of these is going to be bombable. There we go. So we'll drop on down. And now this is a remix of the Eastern Palace fight. But thankfully, since we have silver arrows, this is going to again make this trivial. We'll get these 3 chests. There's the big key. Alright, we're good. So now that we've got the big key, we're ready to start the actual ascension to the top of the tower. Oh, that's right, we gotta do that. Excuse me. And then again, having the silver arrows here makes this pretty trivial. I can actually aim. There we go. I will also say that mimics are probably another one of my least favorite enemies in this game, just because, again, they're a pain in the neck to deal with. Especially when you have them paired with stuff like these laser shooting eyes. Alright. So to save us a little bit of time, we're going to run up here. Over that. And we can go up through here. I'm going to run across very carefully. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of a safety strat here, and I'm going to open up the refill room, because I want to grab the fairies and just keep my health as high as possible. No bug catching net means I can't capture one and have an insurance policy. But that's okay. We've got 2 blue pots on our side, we've got silver arrows, I've got the tempered sword. We're okay. And here's where the bee is going to come in handy. And this bee is going to follow me around for a bit. Although here, I'm going to go ahead and utilize some ether. I'm also going to be keeping my eyes open for chests, because we are going to need some more small keys. We should be able to get everything we need to ascend the tower still. And sadly, the bee only follows you for 2 seconds, but that's okay. And we'll run right past the magic. And then now we break out the fire rod, because it's the land molars part 2. There we go. And then we get a minor refill here. Magic is probably the most important thing, again, you want to hang on to. And then we're going to to have a bunch of mages appear here, to which I say, hands up. Get ready to rave. And then once again, hands up. Let's rave. Now here I'm in a little bit of a pickle. I might have to use one of my blue potions here just because I do need to light all 4 of these torches in order to move on. I'm going to see if I can get just enough magic to do this. I think that'll be just enough with the lantern. We're going to light this guy. And then we're going to go down here. Perfect. And then right over here on the right, in that right skull or pot, there is a full magic. And we're going to need that on the next floor. And then here I'm going to go ahead and grab the chest. And again, I'm going to be picking up all I can at this point, just because anything and everything helps. Nope. Missed the conveyor belt. Hopefully it's close. Nah, not quite enough. There we go. I'm going to wait for that spell to go away. Perfect. And now it's the rematch with the giant guy here, and yeah, that went well. Not going to worry about the anti-fairy yet. But we can turn that thing into health if we need to. At least with the tempered sword, this is going to go hopefully a little easier. There we go. Getting a lot of bombs out of chests. Alright. Then we're going to run straight up here, avoid the bumpers and the helmosaurs. Hopefully before they start knocking away from me from the door. There we go. We just run straight left. And now we fight Aghanim 2. Now, this is similar to Aghanim 1, but now we've got 3 of them to worry about. And this, the actual whole one here is what we want to worry about. But just like before, 6 shots and he's dead. And we don't have to worry about big lightning either with this guy. There's 3. There's 5. There we go. Pretty clean, actually. And guess what? It was Ganon all along. Surprise, surprise. Excuse me. Alright, so now that we've got that done and out of the way, Ganon flies back here to the Pyramid of Darkness and promptly smashes through the ceiling. And then we're just going to follow him and let ourselves in. When I conquer the Light World, I'll hold a parade of all my monsters to demonstrate my might to the people. Alright, so we got to stop that from happening, so we're going to kill Ganon. Now, this fight is tough. Ganon does a lot of damage very quickly. I'm going to be watching my health carefully. And thankfully, with the Magic Cape, we can make certain aspects of this way easier. Specifically right here. Now we just gotta wait for him to stop teleporting. is teleporting a lot. He's just being mean at this point. There we go. Now, as you notice, the floor is falling away. And we want to avoid falling into the areas that are open, because if I do, it's going to start this whole fight over again. I'm going to fall through, and then I have to enter the pyramid again and restart the fight. Okay, now I'm going to switch gears a bit. I'm going to get out my lantern, because I'm going to light this really quick. And that is a minor glitch that allows me to keep one of those torches constantly lit. Alright, 2 more shots and he's gone. So we'll do that. And then 1 more, and then he's dead. Be ready for time. Time will be once I go through the top door that opens up, because that's when I lose control of Link.
Perfect.
Wait for that to open. Time.
All right, official time, 2 hours, 36 minutes, and 14 seconds.
Nice. Got him! And that is Link to the
Nice.
Past Randomizer, so I hope you all enjoyed that.
Thank you so much, especially for taking that detour and pretty much throwing away your PB for charity. We do appreciate that, so that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And now we get the fun part of watching the credits, which the randomizer crew, they're awesome. I met a couple of them at Summer Games Done Quick this past year, and they were the nicest people to help me get into this game. So I got to say thank you to the Link to the Past randomizer crew for showing me the ropes and showing me how to get in this. And of course, we're going to start with Fellowship of the Ring, because what is a Zelda joke without Lord of the Rings jokes? I was hoping we see sits in his own pew here in the church, but that's one of the lines that can come up here. And yeah, overall fairly clean. I think this is officially a deathless run. We're going to see the end of the game stats here at the end of the credits, and as we promptly look over shit's a carp zone coming. Oh boy. And then vultures rule the deserts, of course. And then we're going to see Gary up here opening some chests. Yep, back to his old ways. And the bully makes a friend. That's no different than the actual ending, so that's cool. Excuse me. And it's cool to see those guys like back to their actual Light World forms too. Like it's like one of the most complete, feeling endings of any video game out there. And your uncle is healthy. He did not in fact die. Cool. And then life lessons for sale. Don't ever trust Zora. He always rips you off. Traded in 500 rupees and we got 20 back. But yeah, that said, again, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. I wish I could be there in person, but kind of tight for money right now with trying to get a wedding set up for myself, so...
Yeah, totally understandable. I would say you made the right decision there. But we appreciate you taking the time to do this run. This was fantastic. I mean, everyone here has said it was great. Personally, I don't know too much about the game, but the commentary and the way you were doing it was super informative. I speaking for myself, but I think everyone seemed to enjoy it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, the reason I got into running Link to the Past Randomizer was, I watched one of my favorite speedrunners do this game a few times on his stream, Caleb Hart, if you happen to know the name, but just seeing it and just seeing how the randomizer essentially turns the game into a big puzzle, I always thought was really cool. So, and just being able to figure things out on the fly, figure out, okay, this is what you do here in this situation, here's how you can abuse things, just essentially unlocking the game as you go, and just figuring things out is like a big, huge thing for me because I like solving puzzles, I guess. So I always thought that aspect was cool. And of course, if people think this is cool and they want to get into it, it's not that hard to do. Just Google Link to the Past Randomizer. There's a website for it to help you get started. And of course, there's the Discord as well, which there will be a link that comes in the credits for as well, in case anybody wants to join the Discord and start running this for themselves. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, of course. So again, we really appreciate that. Everyone that is here right now, be sure to give them a follow because that was fantastic. is there before we switch this off, because you're actually the last run of the day here, so we're gonna close out day 2 in just a second here once we let you go. But is there anything else that you want to say, or any shout outs that you want to give before we switch it over to
Yep.
wrap it up?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to go through the remainder of the credits if we can, just so I can, because one of the things the randomizer will do at the end is it will show all of your important stats of like when you found the most important items. It also gives you like an actual in-game time, things like that. So I'd like to see that before we shut things
Yeah,
off.
no, absolutely.
And I guess the other shout-outs I want to give kind of more on a personal level. Shout-outs, of course, to my lovely fiance, Kit Kat. I'm not sure if she's watching right now. I know she's with her family this weekend, but she's the one that inspires me to keep gaming and to keep doing what I do, so I want to say thank you to her first and foremost. Second, of course, shout-outs to my own Twitch community and my friends, and hopefully family who are watching along and enjoyed this run, because you guys also inspire me to keep going and keep doing what I do. Aside from that, also shout-outs to the game communities I'm normally part of and do the most on my channel, which are the rhythm gaming community as well as the fighting gaming community. As I mentioned, I'm an avid Tekken player. I was a Killer Instinct player for a long time, which is how I know Yami. And I also just do a lot of other cool stuff, and I love all the communities I'm part of, including, I guess, the speedrunning community, even though I'm not... This is like the only game I run for now, but it's like I want to find a different game that I can run and maybe expand on this a little more. It's just figuring out what to run, so...
I think that's the case with like a lot of speedrunners. It's they find that one game that gets them started, and then once you kind of not grow tired of it, but it kind of makes you want more. Finding the next game, it makes it a little tricky.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, my apologies also to chat that I haven't been watching, the chat as much as I probably should have, but, again, my attention's kind of on balancing a lot of things whenever I run randomizer.
No, that's fine. Any questions that they had, or any questions that I guess our audience here had, I relayed to you, so you were fine. Everyone was enjoying it.
Good. So, yep, awesome. So I think we're coming up on the actual important stuff, so to speak, when it comes to like actual endgame stats. But yeah, here we go. The more important like credits, aside from the original developers, which thank you to them to developing honestly such an amazing game that has withstood the test of time and continues to be a classic even into 2019. And of course to all the contributors here for the randomizer for doing the amazing work of just making this thing happen. Because without these people you see here, randomizer, Link to the Past randomizer wouldn't exist. Simple version. So, but yeah, that said, should be coming up on the important stuff real quick here. And then, of course, yep, Link to the Past randomizer community. Shoutouts again to you guys for helping me get into this and helping me get my first runs out of the way, because I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for you guys. And then there's our Discord link in case you want to join that and ask around, ask questions, how to get set up. The community is so welcoming and helpful to me to get started, and I can't thank them enough for that. So here we go, the important stuff. We've got the first sword at 17 minutes in. Pegasus Boots was at about 9 minutes in. Loot was about 2.5 minutes in, or 2 hours and 2.5 hours in. And then Mirror was about 2 hours. There were no swordless kills. We got 2 fighter sword kills, 6 master sword kills, and 2 tempered sword kills. The big key in Ganon's Tower was the 16th chest we found. 22 bonks, 29 save and quits, no deaths. That was a deathless run.
What exactly qualifies as a bonk in this game?
That's when you charge into something with the Pegasus Boots and then bounce off like a solid object. That's a bonk.
Okay.
And then we had 1 fairy revival when I had that unfortunate death early in the game, but that's okay. And then 178 chests out of 216. Official time recorded by the game was 2:31:31. So cool. All right, with that said, I'll pass it back to you here, Metadog. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the run. We appreciate it, and hopefully, like I said, you guys give them a follow, and hopefully we continue to grow this community and your community as well. We appreciate everyone that is here tonight. So thank you again.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me, guys. You all have a good rest of your night.
You too. Thank you.
All right, guys. So that is. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I would imagine switching over here. That is the end of day 2 for the Dog Pound Classic. We finished with that great run from Coldix with the Link to the Past randomizer. Again, just a last shout out to our charity here, To Write Love on Her Arms. To Write Love on Our Arms is a nonprofit movement dedicated to presenting hope and finding help for people struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. It exists to encourage, inform, inspire, and also invest directly into treatment and recovery. So all of those donations that you guys have been putting in, we have a total of $1,050 through 2 days, which is just absolutely just killed what we thought we could have done. So, and we have 1 full day left tomorrow. So just a reminder, all those donations, you can find the links in the chat, the Twitch panel down below. Everything goes directly to that charity. We don't see it, and everything is appreciated. It's for a great cause. So with that being said, I think we're going to wrap up, so we're going to say just a quick goodbye. Thank you again so much for being here. It's the weekend. There's so many things you can be doing at any given moment. You're choosing to spend your time here. Except for this time, like I said, it's for a great cause. So thank you for being here. We are going to start day 3 tomorrow morning. So day 3, the final day of DPX 2019, is going to start at 9 a.m. We're going to have some introductions. We're going to have an interview with one of our organizers, I4 Matthew, who's done a couple of runs. He's got a couple of runs tomorrow as well. And then the very first run is actually going to be done by myself, PGA, and it's going to be a GoldenEye run, but it's going to be a Mario hack. So it's a little more fun. It's not a basic GoldenEye run. It's pretty much GoldenEye with Mario characters in it. So we hope to see you there tomorrow morning, again, starting 9 a.m. Eastern time. And yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, and we're going to end day 2 right here. Have a great night, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.